Takeru is a student at the Anti-Magic Academy, haunted by the murder of his parents at the hands of a powerful witch. Now, driven by vengeance and the need to protect his only remaining family, his little sister, he's determined to become the Academy's strongest witch hunter, no matter the cost. Humanity is clutched under the shadows of powerful witches wishing to destroy the balance between good and evil. To protect the integrity of human species, an anti-magic academy came into existence with the sole purpose to annihilate all the witches and whatever remains of them. Years later, as Takeru walks through the halls of the anti-magic academy, he overhears other students mocking him for using a sword and outdated relic in a world dominated by advanced technology. Takeru remains calm and tries not to get into a fight as he wants to maintain his status as a student because he needs a lot of money to pay off the gambling debt that his addict father left behind for him to pay. Aside from that, he also has a little sister to take care of, so he must graduate from this anti-magic academy to become a high-class inquisitor. After a long walk through the academy's corridors, Takeru arrives at his platoon's office, only to be greeted by a chaotic scene Usagi, dressed in an outlandish bunny costume, is being coerced into taking photos by a mischievous Ikaruga. Takeru, who has already had enough of his miserable poor life, becomes even more depressed and starts to cry. Usagi, feeling insulted, accuses Takeru of crying just to mock her small stature, despite her exaggerated proportions. Takeru quickly tries to explain, assuring Usagi that she's stunning, so much so that he was moved to tears by her divine beauty. Usagi takes the bait and focuses her attention on Ikaruga, who threatens to leak these pictures on only air conditioners to make some quick bucks. Usagi becomes aggressive after hearing such remarks and tries to grab the camera away from her. Takeru, who had enough of their bullshit, calms them down and asks them to sit down, so they can talk peacefully about their already lowest rankings that might fall even lower if they don't do anything. Usagi isn't the one to take such disrespect and reminds him that it's him, the supposed captain, who sucks at being a leader, which has caused them to earn 0 credits in their whole career. Takeru can't fight against it, so he stays silent while looking at Ikaruga with pleading puppy eyes. Ikaruga is like, "Fine, I will do it," and stands up. She walks to her massive gaming setup with RTX 4090 and starts spamming some keys like a Valorant player after losing the 5th competitive match in a row. Soon she tells him that there might be a chance for them to redeem themselves. Saying this, she explains the mission, which is to capture a person who is in hold of a missing rank 4 magic item. If they are able to secure that magic time and put the magician's evil plan into the trash can, they might be able to earn enough credit to pass this year's exam. But they are unsure of their ability to pull it off, so they are saved by their dear principal, Sugetsu, who offers to present his adopted daughter to join their team. Takeru is surprised to see Uka, who is allegedly a genius inquisitor and way above their pay grade. But sometimes reality is disappointing, or rather grateful, to people like Takeru, who gained such a big shot at no price. So this is how the worst platoon of the Anti-Magic Academy gained their new member. Takeru greets Uka as he used to be her classmate in the past, but gets ignored as Uka doesn't even remember him. This causes Usagi to make fun of him, as she rarely gets to see him being this embarrassed. As for how Uka happened to join their team is because she killed a witch when she was supposed to capture her. Her repeated offenses caused Sugetsu to derank her and place her back in the academy. And the platoon that he chose for her was platoon number 35, aka the Small Fry Platoon. Back to the platoon number 35, Takeru explains to Uka their new mission, which she agrees to join without hesitation, as she needs to get more credits to gain back her position as an inquisitor. So at night, they head to their target location, where Takeru orders Usagi to stand by as the sniper and shoot at his command. Meanwhile, he and Uka head into the building, while Ikaruga guides them from the office. Takeru and Uka carefully arrive at the scene and order Usagi to take down the targets, but Usagi is too dumb to shoot the real targets and ends up shooting some random people. This creates a misunderstanding as Takeru thinks that the enemies are down, but when he enters inside, he finds them standing on their feet. They notice the sword on Takeru's waist and laugh, as no one uses a sword in the days where guns are the most lethal weapon. But Takeru proves them wrong by using his sword to split their bullets. But he stops realizing that he might end up killing them, So Uka steps in and defeats them, using a tasered gun, and captures the last guy. But that guy ends up using the magic item anyways, which leads to Takeru and Uka fighting against it to save themselves. But the man overestimated himself, which causes him to lose, and gets captured by Takeru, who handcuffs him and takes him for his trial. Meanwhile, Uka realizes why they are the worst platoon and comments that Usagi is just brain-dead stupid and Takeru is a primitive monkey who only uses swords. This whole team makes her blood boil, so she decides to take missions alone as she thinks that she needs no one. Takeru wants to stop her from going alone, so he chases after her. But Uka doesn't stop, so he just decides to follow her to see whatever mission she is going to attempt. Later at night, they arrive at a magic association which Uka was researching about, and just now decided to put a stop to their illegal witch activities. Takeru is beside her and decides to take a lead, but he gets ambushed by the enemies, which forces Uka to come out from her hiding to protect him. But Takeru quickly pays this favor by protecting her from a few gunshots, which allows Uka to take down the men with her tasered gun. After taking care of the men, Uka heads inside only to find that she was too late and that the men have been committing experiments on these girls by dismembering them. Uka apologizes to whatever is left of them and heads outside to avenge them. She shoots one of the men and is about to kill him when Takeru stops her and reminds her that she will lose her title and everything if she killed these men. But Uka tells him that he doesn't understand anything about her. He doesn't know that she lost her family to the witches, and she wishes nothing more to exterminate their kind. Takeru is taken back, but still tries to calm her down as he tells her that even though she is angry, killing these men will only make it difficult for her to complete her goal of exterminating the source of this evil. So till then, she needs to trust in him, and that he will stand by her side. Uka breaks down in tears and starts bawling out loudly like a little child. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl named Lapis watches them from afar and murmurs Takeru's name before disappearing into thin air. The following day, Uka heads to Sugetsu's office to ask him to change her platoon, as the 35th platoon is a hot mess. Sugetsu informs her that this can't happen as she has already been assigned. Aside from that, he also mentions that the 35th platoon has a member who might be a relic eater, which causes Uka to be shocked as she decides to wait for a while. After she leaves, Lapis comes out from the shadows as Sugetsu wishes her best to form her contract successfully. Meanwhile, in a desolate building, a girl named Mari is standing there waiting for someone when a man called Haunted comes out from the shadows with blood all over his body. Mari asks him how many people he killed this many, so he answers that it was not that much but just 50 people, and half of them were criminals, so she shouldn't hold it against him. Mari can only feel disgust, but she has to bear it as she wants to fight against the Inquisitors who are her main enemies. She hands him over the fragment of the magical artifact, which puts a smile on Haunted's face, as this will allow him to summon the ancient hero Einherjar with a weapon. After giving him the fragment and reminding him of his promise, Mari leaves as Haunted wishes her the best of luck and blesses her with the blessings of the Valkyries, as the girl in front of him is the daughter of the Great Witch. Back to the academy in the 35th room, Usagi is jumping like a rabbit as she practices with a toy gun. She promises Takeru that she will perform better in the next mission and prove Uka that she is better than her. Just then, Uka enters the room, which causes Takeru to stand up and invite her for a group dinner, but Uka leaves, reminding him that she isn't the one to take orders from him as she doesn't consider him to be her captain. Takeru tries to stop her, but Uka runs away just like the previous day, so he runs out to follow her. On the other hand, Haunted is finally done with the preparation to summon Einherjar. He drains the blood into the circuit of the magic circle and then starts murmuring a magic spell which releases a bright flesh of light as a giant armored titan appears from the outer dimension. Meanwhile, Uka is standing at her family's graves when she notices Takeru standing behind her and remarks that he must be a stalker, the way he always follows her around. Takeru acts like he didn't hear her and asks if it's her family, and requests her to tell him more about them. Uka tells him that it happened 9 years ago, but the memory is too bloody that she isn't able to explain it, which prompts Takeru to tell her that he will always stand beside her. But Uka asks him if he can abandon his humanity to defeat his enemies, which causes Takeru to go silent, as he doesn't have the answer for it. Just then, All the students of the Anti-Magic Academy receives news that a catastrophic level attack has happened in the city, and that they must all try to stop it. Hearing this, Uka immediately heads to stop the attack as Takeru follows her. Ikaruga also contacts him and asks him what they should do. They only have two options: either retreat to the behind and wait for everything to finish, or go on the front lines to fight the enemy. Even though Takeru knows that the best bet for them would be to retreat and escape, but since Uka is already fighting on the front lines, they should go and help her. After receiving the orders from the captain, Ikaruga and Usagi gets ready for the fight as they follow him. In the meantime, Uka arrives on the battlefield and is checking on the injured students who tell her that Einherjar isn't something that students like them can defeat. Uka puts down the injured student and walks towards Einherjar, who is wreaking havoc all over the city. Uka is reminded of the tragedy that happened to her, which causes her blood to boil, so she immediately jumps into the fight. She shoots Einherjar, but nothing happens as it is surrounded by a barrier. She tries her best to damage it, but only to be pushed further and further away. This gives Takeru enough time to arrive on the battlefield, as he promises Uka that this time he will defend her, and gets into his battle stance. With the trusted shovel in his hand, Takeru slashes at Einherjar with great accuracy, but it only leaves a scratch on its tough body. However, since it can be scratched, it can be cut too. So he immediately gets into another attack stance and starts slashing his sword at it. But his attacks aren't doing anything and only ends up losing stamina. Seeing that Takeru is tired, Einherjar uses his ultimate attack, which turns Takeru into a bloody mess. Takeru feels that this is the end, and can't help but feel regret, as he didn't even have the time to chase after a beautiful girl and lose his V card. Just then, Alice appears in front of him and takes him to somewhere else. She asks him if he wants to form a contract with her to gain power to defeat all of his foes. Takeru answers yes, so she asks him if he is ready to abandon his humanity, which reminds Takeru of Uka. So if she can abandon her humanity, why can't he do the same? So he answers yes to Alice's question, which completes their contract as Takeru's messed up body starts healing at an unexplainable speed, and he even gains a new cool armor. With this armor, he gains immense defense and power, which gives him full confidence to defeat Einherjar. After getting the power-up, he gets back into his fighting stance, and this time his attacks are easily able to leave deep cuts into Einherjar. This gives him the confidence to launch a final attack, but Einherjar is also getting agitated, so it launches its ultimate attack at Takeru once again. But this time, Alice tells Takeru to absorb the attack with his sword, and then use that same power to unleash even greater attack at the enemy. Takeru does as what she said, and absorbs the attack that Einherjar launched at him, and then uses his sword to utilize the remaining energy to perform an even greater attack that cuts Einherjar into pieces. Haunted, who was watching this from the sidelines, is amused and leaves as it's time for him to draw another scheme. Meanwhile, Takeru is too tired and falls on the lap of Uka, who also smiles as she finally has someone to rely on. Later, Hayato and Sugetsu are walking through a corridor while talking about Mari, who was captured by them, but she doesn't remember anything. Sugetsu asks Hayato if Valhalla will come to rescue her or not, to which Hayato replies that knowing their usual attitude, they will definitely take some action. Just then, they arrive at a heavily secured room in which Mari is captured. The following day, Sugetsu calls 35th Patio to his office and informs them about Alice, who will be joining their team as she likes to remain in her human form. Sugetsu fakes her documents by giving her the identity of Takeru's little sister, and even gains his family's surname. Aside from that, Sugetsu also introduces them to Mari, who will be joining their team. Even though she is a witch, they can't just kill her or keep her locked up, so they decided to let her join the Anti-Magic Academy to become an Inquisitor. The 35th platoon's duty will be to monitor her so she doesn't do anything illegal. Uka wants to protest, but she stops after noticing that their captain isn't against this decision. After leaving Sugetsu's office, they are walking downstairs when Marie tells them to leave her as she already has a GPS collar on her neck which will explode if she tries to escape or use her magic. But Uka is against this as she tells her that witches can't be trusted. This sparks a debate between them if all magic is harmful, which causes Mari to retort that they Inquisitors use magic too, such as relic eaters. Takeru mediates between them and somehow manages to stop them. But Uka and Mari are against each other on every level, which leads them to compete with each other everywhere they get a chance. Uka, who is good at athletic stuff, outshines Mari, who should be more athletic due to her flat chest, that's even flatter than the airport. But on the other hand, Mari is smarter and knows a lot of stuff, while Uka is pretty slow and brain-dead. Later, they are both dissing each other when Takeru jumps in to stop them, only to end up punched in the face by both of them. Later, poor Takeru rubs his face in pain as Mari offers him a drink to apologize. But her tsundere side acts up as she tells him that she isn't doing this because she likes him or something. Takeru accepts the drink and tells her that she is a good person. But Mari reminds him that humans and witches live in a different world, which makes Takeru question whether that's really the case, as Mari so far has been kind and good. So he asks her what she wants to do, which puts Mari into pondering as she answers that she wants to prove to the world that not all magic is harmful, and that some magic might be good for humanity. This puts a smile on her face, which causes Takeru to assure her that she isn't a bad witch. Meanwhile, Haunted is talking with his talking stick called Nacht, who asks him why he didn't just kill Mari the other day instead of using the forgetfulness spell. But Haunted replies that it wouldn't be so fun and that he wants to take Mari for himself, so he had no other choice, although he didn't expect the Inquisitors to let her join them. But since it happened, he will make use of it and do some fun things. Back at the 35th room, the group is talking about some stuff when Uka realizes that Mari and Takeru are already using each other's first name, so she becomes jealous and starts to argue with Mari, who asserts her dominance by sticking even close to Takeru. Usagi, who is watching all of this, becomes extremely angry and asks them to stop their perverted activities as they have a big issue at hand, the upcoming mock battle tournament. Later, Takeru is thinking about the tournament when he bumps into Kyuga and Akira, who wishes him good luck for their upcoming battles, as if they pass, they will be up against them in the second round. Takeru knows that Kyuga is mocking him, but he doesn't mind as he is already used to it. On the other hand, Akira is very kind and apologizes to him on behalf of Kyuga. After talking with them, Takeru is heading home when he is stopped by Mari, who informs him that she will be living together with him as she needs to be monitored continuously. However, since Uka fears that they might do some inappropriate things, she forces them to let her stay with them. So this is how poor Takeru is sandwiched between these two girls who are at odds against each other. After dropping them in his rundown apartment, he heads to the supermarket to get some groceries, which leaves the two girls who are akin to fire and water with each other. After Takeru arrives back, he opens the door only to find Mari in her natural state. Takeru becomes shy and closes his eyes, but Uka, who was also showering, comes out running because she believes that she saw a ghost. Soon, it's time for the mock battle tournament, as Takeru's platoon is against another platoon who aren't that great in terms of strength. But despite that, their coordination is much better than them, which causes 35th platoon to suffer numerous losses. Takeru is thinking of a way to win this battle when Uka informs the team that she will distract the enemies, so Takeru can eliminate the rest of them. But their plan fails, which puts them in a losing position once again, so Mari, who was thinking not to participate, decides to sacrifice herself for the team, so they can take down the enemies. This time, their plan works flawlessly, as they are able to take down the enemy platoon and secure the victory. After this battle, Takeru and the team thanks Mari, who becomes shy and refuses to accept the praise. Meanwhile, Uka heads to Sugetsu's office to inform him about the battle when she finds that he is absent. She is about to leave when she notices a few documents on the table and decides to read them, which reveals the information regarding Mari and how she is charged with murder and association with Valhalla. The following day, the group heads to a summer festival where Mari asks Takeru what he would do if she turned out to be evil, to which Takeru replies that he will force her to become a good person, as that's his job as the captain. After returning from the festival, the group is ready to fight Kyuya's platoon, who are also excited to defeat Takeru and shame him in front of everyone. While all the crowd is excited for the battle, Sugetsu and Hayato are making sure that the security is tight, as Valhalla might take this chance to attack them to deal with Mari. On the other hand, Oka also reveals the information to Takeru, who asks her to stay silent and observe things for a while, as it might be different from what she read. But Oka is still a bit absent-minded during the battle, so Takeru asks her to calm down and focus on the fight first. Just then, he hears a few shouts and looks around to find that Akira's body is spewing out massive black vines, which puncture a hole into Kyuya's chest. Takeru wants to stop her, but she bursts into a huge blooming flower which reveals Haunted, who announces himself to the world as the commanding officer of the Valhalla. He then moves on towards Mari and tries to remind her, but Mari doesn't remember him. He wants to say something, but he gets silenced by a rain of bullets that punctures his body, that he deflates like a balloon. However, Haunted isn't that easy to kill as he surrounds himself with a magic barrier that traps him and Takeru's platoon inside. The barrier is so resilient that even bullets aren't able to pierce it, so they can only wait from outside as everything now depends on Takeru, who is inside the barrier. Haunted wants to approach Mari but gets stopped by Takeru, who asks him to surrender himself as Mari won't go anywhere. Haunted doesn't take Takeru's words to be serious, as he is nothing but a fly in his eyes. Meanwhile, he wants Mari to remember him, so he undo the spell which reminds Mari of what happened. She was forced into helping Haunted because he took her siblings at the orphanage to be his hostages. Mari wanted to rescue them, so he had her do the dirty work of collecting the magic artifact for him. Mari asks Haunted if he can free her siblings, but he tells her that he can only do it once she agrees to become his girlfriend. But Takeru interferes and tells Mari that her siblings are dead. This causes Haunted to laugh as he releases the dead bodies of the children from his necromancer magic, which causes Mari to break down. Takeru also had enough of him, so he immediately asks Lapis to summon the armor as he gets ready to defeat Haunted. Haunted is surprised to see that Takeru is a witch hunter, but he isn't too amazed as he is still far stronger than him. Takeru, who is buffed by Lapis's power, charges straight at Haunted, who steps aside and pierces Takeru with his own sword. Takeru is taken back by the realization that Haunted is also a witch hunter, but Lapis corrects him and informs him that he has a hero relic called Dane's Life, which is also an extremely powerful sword in the ancient times. So now the battle has turned into a sword user versus a sword user, which spices up the rather boring guns versus bullets fights. While Haunted is flexing his cool relic, Takeru is also being healed by Lapis. To give Takeru some time to heal, Mari decides to sacrifice herself as she uses her magic spell. Unfortunately, the magic spell misses Haunted, causing Mari's sacrifice to go in vain. However, when Mari expects her collar to explode, it stops, which surprises her, so Uka tells her that she researched more about her case and blackmailed Sugetsu into disarming her collar. Mari didn't expect Uka to do something like this for her, which causes her to become shy. But she still doesn't thank her, as once a tsundere, always a tsundere. Meanwhile, Takeru has already healed up and jumps once again into the battle, but this time he is careful of Haunted's sword. To support Takeru, Mari once again shots a magic attack at Haunted, but he dodges it and laughs at Mari for being a terrible shooter, but he didn't realize that the attack was targeted on Takeru, who uses Lapis's special ability to absorb the power to charge up a massive attack. With the extra power in his sword, Takeru charges at Haunted, who blocks the attack with his own sword, but Lapis laughs at him as his blunt sword will never win against a sharp sword like Takeru. Haunted is slammed into the building, which causes his barrier to shut down. He asks Takeru for his name, and after learning it, he realizes that he belongs to the family of demon hunters and leaves the battlefield without explaining anything. Takeru is also extremely exhausted and falls down as his teammates catch him. After that incident, everyone goes back to their normal lives except Usagi, whose mother visits her at the academy and expresses her disappointment after seeing her grades. She informs Usagi that if she continues to have such poor grades, this will be her last month at this academy. Meanwhile, in the auditorium, the vice executive, Rama, announces that the witch hunting, which is an old tradition of the academy, will continue again soon, and this time all the students will gain special tokens which they can exchange for either school credit or hard cash. Hearing the word cash makes Takeru instantly stick out his tongue in amazement. While the other students are participating for school credit, he just wants to earn money so he can pay off his father's gambling debt that he left on him. So Takeru immediately sets up an emergency meeting to discuss their plan of competing in this witch hunt competition. They are talking about various things when Usagi wants to come in but stops, as she will just ruin their plans with her poor performance once again. She is about to leave, but then hears Mari and others complimenting her, which causes her to smile as she starts regaining hope in this world. But soon, the topic shifts from her abilities to her nickname, which makes her angry as she barges into the room to tell everyone to not call her that. Takeru and others who were waiting for her are relaxed that she is here and tells her about the witch hunting event. They want to participate so Takeru can earn money and pay off his debts. Usagi also feels happy to participate in one last activity before she is forced to drop out. But her fun plan is ruined when a captain from another platoon offers to alliance with Takeru's platoon to gain more points in the competition. He suggests that both parties are in small numbers, so it would be better for them to join each other to make up for their small numbers. Takeru doesn't have any problem with that, so he agrees to his request. After the meeting, they all each headed their own way as they all got various things to do. Usagi, on the other hand, is just casually strolling the school when she bumps into Rama and starts sweating profusely. Rama greets Usagi and asks her how she is doing in school, but after seeing that she is too afraid to speak, he changes the subject and tells her that she will soon belong to him. This causes Usagi to fall down, as she is too afraid to even look into his eyes. But Rama doesn't help her and just coldly watches her with a fake smile. Takeru, who happens to be passing by, notices Usagi and immediately heads to help her, as he is surprised to see Rama with Usagi. Rama greets Takeru and confirms if he is Usagi's captain, and after confirming this, he leaves Usagi in his care, after remarking that he better take care of Usagi until she's his. After Rama leaves, Takeru tries to calm Usagi, who is still shaking in fear. Takeru takes her to the infirmary, where Usagi continues to cling onto his shirt. He calls the other girls to the infirmary, who are shocked to see this and wonder what could have caused her to become like this. After making sure, they want to leave, but as Usagi keeps on holding on to him, Takeru has no choice but to stay beside her till she wakes up. Mari warns him to not do anything suspicious, or she might do unimaginable things to him. After a while, Usagi wakes up and finds that she is holding Takeru's hand and becomes shy. She thanks him for staying beside her side for all this time, but Takeru reminds her that's what he promised to her, so of course he will stay beside her side. Meanwhile, Uko is stopped by a member of the student council's platoon who informs her that the president wants to talk to her. Uka is taken to a secret room where Nagaru greets her and asks if she wants some freshly sliced oranges. But Uka rejects her offer, as eating oranges will be like cannibalism, because her hair is also orange. Nagaru isn't one to waste time, so she comes back to the main topic, which is that a fabled witch by the name of Mephistopheles might be back in action. But Uka doesn't believe her, as that is nothing but a fabled story. So Nagaru has to show her the proof, which is that her whole platoon was killed by this witch this month, leaving only her and her secretary behind. Uka is shocked and asks her that she must have some leads on this witch since she called her here, to which Nagura answers that the problem may lie with Rama, whose appearance coincides with the timing of the Mephistopheles appearance. Back to Usagi, Takeru makes sure that she is okay and decides to walk her home. But during their walk, he asks her about Rama, but Usagi refuses to mention anything, so he insists that she tell him, which causes her to burst out as she tells him that Rama is her fiancé, whom she was married to because she is the last heir of her family, so they need to cling to a powerful family like Rama's family, so their future is secured. Takeru didn't expect the story to go like this, so he immediately grabs her arm and insists that she spend the night over at his house. Later at Takeru's apartment, Uka and the others arrive at his apartment. Usagi is happy to see that everyone here is supporting her, which makes her feel extremely gratified. Now that Usagi is feeling normal, they take her back to school to create some core memories. Ikaruga forces everyone to cosplay and take a group photo together to keep it as a memento. This also makes Usagi realize that she isn't alone anymore, so she can now fight Rama without being afraid of him. While the group is investigating Rama and trying to save Usagi from him, Rama is also busy working hard for the upcoming witch hunting event. He orders committee members to decorate the academy, but Uka finds it suspicious, so she requests Nagura for an aerial view of the academy. This allows her to realize that Rama is creating a giant magical circle, which also confirms that he might be behind Mephistopheles. On the other hand, Takeru is doing his usual chores when Rama spots him and asks if Usagi is alright. But Takeru, who now knows his real identity, warns her to behave with Usagi, or he might do questionable things to him. But Rama doesn't even flinch and instead informs Takeru that Usagi killed her own brother, and that she is nothing but a murderer. Takeru doesn't believe her and threatens to cut off his slick tongue with his sword if he ever comments such things about Usagi. However, Rama just pushes him aside as he reminds him that he is her fiancé, and meanwhile Takeru is nothing but an ordinary teammate. Rama is in a sour mood after talking with Takeru, so when he finds Usagi later on, he decides to bully her. But Usagi is not alone anymore, so she doesn't fear him. So he has no option but to use her brother's death to weaken her mental boundary and control her. In the meantime, Nagura's secretary, Shizuka, informs her that they have confirmed that Rama is behind Mephistopheles, so she asks Nagura's permission to allow her to capture him, as they have the evidence against him now. But Nagura replies that she wanted to keep her alive, but since she chose to be a spy, she has no choice but to eliminate her. Saying this, Nagura pulls out her gun to shoot Shizuka, but Shizuka is one step ahead and shoots her first. After taking care of Nagura, she invites Uka to help her capture Rama, and when they enter his room, Shizuka betrays her as her body is already possessed by Mephistopheles. Uka wants to shoot her, but Mephistopheles uses a spell to put her down, and then occupies her body, as it's way better than Shizuka. After taking Uka's body, she realizes that Rama has been acting too haughty, so she decides to punish him, but also promises to reward him with the whole academy once she is done retrieving her original body. Meanwhile, Takeru receives a call from Nagura, who survived the assassination thanks to her bulletproof vest. She informs Takeru that Mephistopheles has taken over Uka's body, and she plans to use the giant magical circle to search for her original body. She orders Takeru to stop Mephistopheles, but Takeru shuts her up and reminds her that it was her who places Uka into danger, so she doesn't have any authority to order him. But as Uka's comrade, he will save her. After getting the details from Nagura, Takeru immediately heads off to save Uka, but while he is on her way towards her, he finds that Usagi has been kidnapped by Rama, whose intentions aren't good at all. Meanwhile, in the church, Usagi is placed on a table where she dreams about the time when she was playing with her older brother, who wanted to try out using a shotgun, but accidentally ended up shooting himself. This caused a trauma to poor little Usagi, who wanted to unalive herself but couldn't, as she was the last heir to her family. This made her a vulnerable target for someone like Rama, who started abusing her both mentally and physically. Usagi wakes up from her dream and finds Rama standing in front of her. Even though she knows that Rama is going to do unholy things to her, she isn't able to resist due to him constantly abusing her by reminding her of that trauma. Just when she is about to give in to him, she regains her courage after looking at the picture that she and her platoon members took the other day. She bites Rama in the shoulder and immediately backs away. But this only makes Rama angry, who now wants to punish her even more. But his plans are foiled by Takeru, who arrives as if he's some hero from a Bollywood movie, and kicks Rama in the face. Takeru asks Usagi to go and help Uka, while he promises to beat up Rama in her place. Usagi thanks Takeru and tears her skirt, so she can run faster. Ikaruga hands her a rifle which contains 2 bullets. One is to separate a soul from the body, the other is to kill that soul. Meanwhile, Mari is destroying the magical circle when Mephistopheles tries to ambush her, but she is grabbed by Usagi, who takes her down with her. After being thrown down into the forest, Usagi tries to shoot her, but Mephistopheles assigns her with a spell that causes every boy in the radius of 100 meters to become a simp of her. Mephistopheles uses this chance to head back to Mari to stop her, but this time gets ambushed by Takeru, who has just crushed Rama's very last hope. This starts a duel between Mephistopheles and Takeru, who go head-to-head with each other. But Takeru becomes injured as he isn't able to fight off against his comrades and starts to lose. But his battle with Takeru gives Usagi enough time to free herself from the horde of simps and arrive at the location to deal the final blow to Mephistopheles. But when she arrives there, she gets confused between whose body is being possessed by Mephistopheles. So she hesitates to shoot, but Takeru tells her to shoot him first if she's confused, which scares Mephistopheles, who reveals some of her flaws, which causes her to get shot by Usagi's accurate sniper. After being shot, her soul is pulled out from Uka's body and tries to flee, but Usagi proves her skills as a genius sniper and accurately hits her flying soul, leaving her name in the Book of Dead Witches. After taking care of Mephistopheles, she and everyone else comes close to Uka, who isn't waking up, but Ikaruga checks her pulse, which reveals that she's still alive. After the incident with Mephistopheles, Ikaruga is called to the principal's office by Sugetsu, who informs her that the alchemists are trying to revive the Dark Elf using an ancient living cell. The cell is named Lost Matrix, but it was lost during 4 years ago. But this whole incident is connected to the surname Suginami, which coincides with her surname as well. And as far as Sugetsu knows, that she has a past history with the alchemist organization. Ikaruga refuses to mention anything and leaves. Hayato asks Sugetsu if they should hold her in a cell to get some information, but he replies that it would be barbaric for them to treat such a pretty lady like her in a way, and that it's the best to leave things the way they are now, as it might provide them with something good. Meanwhile, the new rankings of the platoons are announced, but despite so many platoons disbanding, Takeru's small fry platoon is still at the bottom. To improve their rankings, the group is thinking of taking some extra missions to improve their credits when Ikaruga mentions if they need her to find some shady missions for them, which will help increase their credits fast. However, the group denies her proposition, after which she stands up and informs them that she will be taking an indefinite break, and leaves after saying goodbyes. Takeru realizes that something is wrong with her, as she has never said goodbyes before. So he heads after her to make sure that everything is fine. The other group members are also worried, so they decide to follow her as well. Meanwhile, Ikaruga's sister, Isuka, meets up with Haunted, who is surprised, as he didn't thought that someone like her would quit Alchemist to work with Valhalla. He talks about how he would love to spend time with her and get to know her better. But after seeing that Isuka is only interested in machines and technology, he gets turned off and shifts the topic. He talks about how he loves to kill people, and that his motives are nothing more, on the other hand. He is confused by her motives to join him. But before Isuka can answer, her head starts to ache as she receives some information about Lost Matrix from her sister. Haunted asks her if she can be trusted, to which Isuka replies that she wouldn't lie about such an information. Ikaruga continues to walk towards her destination, as she receives a call from her sister, who asks her why she wants to help her. Ikaruga answers that her goal is just to join back the alchemists to continue her research of reviving the Dark Elves, but Isuka replies that if she was really interested in doing that, she wouldn't have left in the first place after stealing Lost Matrix. Ikaruga answers that she wanted to escape the alchemists during that time to continue her own personal research, so she had to do it. But now she wants to go back to working with alchemists. She will correct her past mistakes. But midway during her conversation, she is attacked by a bunch of thugs, which forces her to leave the underground tunnels. Takeru and others who were following her suffer from the same fate, as they are forced to go up to the surface as well. But they get separated, so they all are running around saving themselves from the attackers when Takeru bumps into Ikaruga, who seems to be very exhausted. Ikaruga has no choice but to take Takeru to safety as she calls Isuka to stop the attack, and reminds her that the platoon members are her comrades, so nothing must happen to them, or else the deal is off. Meanwhile, Sugetsu also receives a call from Suzaku, who informs him that alchemists have no part in this whole thing, as there has been a rogue facility working under their name and motives. He informs Hayato to call every witch hunter and knight to the academy, as they are going to war. On the other hand, Ikasu meets up with Uka and others who are taken into a facility by her so they can be kept as hostages. There she is surprised to learn that they treat Ikaruga to be their comrade, as she never thought that she will be able to make friends in her life. So she decides to tell them what kind of a person Ikaruga actually is. In a flashback, Ikaruga and Isuka are still young girls, but they have been trained by the alchemists as genius inventors. They both lack empathy and human emotions, but one day, Ikaruga finds a book which is about a family, which causes her to be curious. In her curiosity of creating a family, she works on the Dark Elf resurrection plan and manages to create a clone. However, since the clone doesn't have magical powers, it will be disposed, but after that child calls her Mama, she becomes infatuated with it and names it Canaria. Afterwards, she decides that she doesn't want to stay in this environment anymore and plans to escape with Canaria. But she finds that Canaria isn't in her cell anymore. Back to Takeru. He is taken to a place by Ikaruga. She inserts an injection in his neck to make him paralyzed, so he won't stop her from making the deal with Isuka. After telling him that she loves him, Ikaruga gets dressed up and leaves, while Takeru can only struggle to get up. After a while, Isuka arrives at the top of the building where Ikaruga is waiting for her. But before that, she asks the status of her team members and warns her that if she ever tried to do any harm to the people that she care about, she will make her live a living hell on this earth. Meanwhile, Isuka's hired thugs drop Uka and the others in the middle of the town and run away. While Uka and Mari are thinking of what to do, Usagi already starts walking towards the big building to bring back Ikaruga. But Uka reminds her that she is a criminal with a bad past, but Usagi doesn't care, as she only cares about what Ikaruga is to them in the present. Her resolve makes Uka and Mari also support her, as they decide to go and help Ikaruga. Behind them is a luxurious limousine in which sits Hayato and Sugetsu. Sugetsu doesn't go into details and just informs them that they are going on a war as he asks the girls to stock up on weapons. Meanwhile, Takeru barely manages to walk out of the building as he asks Lapis to transform him, so he can have the energy to save Ikaruga. Lapis accepts his command and immediately transforms him into a witch hunter afterwards, which he heads off towards the building to bring back Ikaruga. Now that all the chess pieces are in place, Sugetsu signals the start of the war as he himself contributes using his own relic eater. His powers allow him to control the enemies to make them fight each other, which brings him great amusement. On the other side, Takeru is also busy fighting the enemies when he is approached by Uka, who offers to support him from behind while Usagi and Mari protect him from ambushes. In the lab, Ikaruga asks Isuka if she feels nostalgic, but all Isuka feels is hatred for her sister who decided to run away with the most important research of her life, which ruined her entire career. Moreover, she was classified to be a failure by the doctors who told her that she is feeling unnecessary emotions, which caused them to reform her, which ended up making even more broken. She blames all of this on Ikaruga and her stupid book, but Ikaruga can't understand why she would blame her. But this only makes Isuka's blood boil, who shoots her in the leg and orders her to give her the lost matrix so she can regain her purpose in life. However, Ikaruga just laughs as she shows him that the lost matrix has already been placed into her body. Isuka calls her crazy, but Ikaruga proves herself by transforming into a dark elf. She creates a magic sphere in her hand and comments how magic is so powerful, as with enough magic, she can even create antimatter. But Isuka calls her a mad scientist and tries to stop her, but the horrified expression on her face causes the mastermind behind this plan to reveal himself, who is none other than Mr. Haunted from Valhalla itself. He punches a hole through Isuka's chest to satisfy his urges, and then praises Ikaruga for being a genius, and offers her a position in Valhalla. However, Ikaruga is consumed by grief and rage, so she slams the magic sphere into Haunted, who protects himself with a magic barrier. The result is an explosion which destroys the whole lab, revealing themselves to the world. Ikaruga managed to protect Isuka from the explosion, but in result, she herself was badly injured. Isuka asks her to not try any harder as she is already on her last breaths. She thanks Ikaruga for being her sister and informs her that Valhalla has found Canaria and has taken her into captivity. Saying this, she breathes her last breaths and is glad that she could die in her sister's arms. Haunted, on the other hand, walks out from the rubble and offers Ikaruga to join him once again, but in response, all he receives is a bullet into his head, which causes him to become enraged, so he decides to finish what he started and summons a giant wyvern from a portal. At first, everyone thinks that it's a dragon, but Lapis confirms that it's not a dragon, but a wyvern. But despite that, the chances of Takeru winning in a 1v1 are still less than 0.4%. So to defeat the wyvern, Ikaruga suggests using a specialized railgun to shoot the wyvern, while Takeru is taking its attention. And if Usagi manages to shoot it, the wyvern will be dead in a few seconds, as it's nothing but a machine and all machines can be turned off. The group follows her plan as Takeru keeps on capturing the attention of the wyvern, while Usagi shoots her chance. This shocks everyone, as if the railgun doesn't manage to kill it. Then there is a small chance that they will be able to do anything. But Takeru doesn't want to give up, so he jumps up and thrusts the sword into the wyvern's core, but he runs out of mana. But fortunately, Mari shoots a mana sphere at him, which is absorbed by his blade, which gives him one last chance to deal a heavy blow. Using his special Dragon Slayer technique, Takeru cuts apart the Wyvern core into pieces, which causes it to shut down and fall. After the battle, while Mari and Uka are fighting each other over who contributed the most, Takeru heads outside the camp to find Ikaruga, who is sitting there in silence with her favorite childhood book in her hand. Takeru feels bad for her, so he pats on her head, which makes her starts to cry. So he tells her that even if she doesn't like to burden others with her problems, she can at least burden him with her tears. After the fight with the Wyvern and Valhalla, the group has been suffering from extremely low credits, so they decide to take whatever mission they can find. Ikaruga finds a mission for them, which involves a late-night bar, where they have to serve as fake hostesses and waiter, which makes Uka feel a bit hesitant, so Ikaruga teases her by saying that she's still a child who can't even handle such small tasks. In anger, Uka accepts the mission but later comes to regret it when she realizes how perverted the men are at the late-night bars. But for the sake of the mission, she tries to keep herself calm. She waits for the suspect to reveal themselves, so she closely watches, and when she finds a guy with a suspicious gift in his pocket, she immediately takes the chance to observe him. But he accidentally touches her peaches, which causes her to scream at him, and in embarrassment even opens a fire at the gift on the table, which happens to be nothing but a game console. Meanwhile, the real suspect becomes afraid and tries to escape but gets captured by Takeru and other girls. Later, Uka is extremely embarrassed that she caused such a blunder and apologizes to everyone, but they forgive her as they are more curious about the magical artifact they retrieved. Ikaruga inspects it, but it turns out to be just a normal F-grade magical ring. However, its effects are still unknown. She wants to try wearing it, but the other girls fight over it with her. But in the end, the ring ends up falling onto Takeru's hand, which releases a mist covering the entire room. When he wakes up, he realizes that everyone is acting weird. He can only escape, but he is caught by Ikaruga, who informs him that the ring's effect is to make everyone drunk. Takeru asks if she is not affected by it, which causes her to tease him by getting close to his face, only to end up puking from the feeling of being too drunk. Fortunately, she wasn't kissing him, or he would have turned into another Denji. After this mission is completed, the group takes on another unusual mission, which is to investigate a beach that has been continuously in summer season ever since it opened. The authority suspects it to be the work of some powerful witch, so the group head to the beach to investigate it. How can there be a beach episode without summer stuff? So they all get dressed into swimsuits so they can enjoy the beach while they investigate the truth behind it. While everyone is enjoying, Ikaruga stays under her umbrella as she feels too sick to be in the sun. Just like every other weeb in the world, she also despises sun so much that she isn't even willing to leech at beautiful girls in swimsuits. After swimming in the sea for a while, they eat some noodles and ice cream to enjoy the beautiful weather. But this upsets Takeru's stomach, who immediately closes himself into the toilet. Just then, the group is informed by some locals that they were attacked by a sea monster, so the platoon immediately heads off to deal with it. It's then Uka reveals that she can't swim, so Mari, Usagi, and Lapis has to deal with the sea monster alone as Ikaruga is too sick from the summer heat, while Takeru is stuck in the toilet fighting his inner demons, just like an average American after consuming Taco Bell. So the mini platoon heads off to defeat the evil monster, but they are captured by its slimy tentacles and dragged underwater. Fortunately, Takeru has just finished battling his inner demons, so he can come out and save the day. After rescuing the girls from the sea monster, he carries it out, and which reveals that it was the sea monster behind all of this summer weather cycle. Uka thanks Mari and others for stepping out when she couldn't do anything. This makes their bonds even stronger, so they decide to take on even more missions. One day, Takeru heads to the world's most secure prison to meet with his little sister. He is granted audience, but only behind a glass wall, so they can only hear and see each other, but can't come into contact. Kiseki is happy to see her big brother come see her, and tells him that he has grown even more handsome. Takeru, on the other hand, feels bad after seeing her sister in such a condition, but Kiseki tells him that it's okay, and asks if she brought more stories from outside to tell her. Takeru tells her about the new girls that he met, that includes Uka, and tells her that he absolutely cherishes her. This makes Kiseki a bit jealous, as she asks him if he loves her, to which Takeru replies that it's not like that and that he just admires her. Kiseki isn't satisfied and wants to continue talking to him, but their time comes to a close, so Takeru is forced to leave. The few upcoming days, Takeru continues to keep himself busy in work, and takes on more and more missions which costs him his sleep and rest time. This worries Uka, who asks him if he's fine and reminds him to call if he needs her help with anything. After assuring Uka that he is fine, Takeru leaves the room and is heading to somewhere when he bumps into Kyuya, who is walking down with Sugetsu. Takeru stops him and asks him if Akira is fine, but he doesn't receive any response but only contempt from him as he labels Takeru to be a traitor. After leaving him behind, Kyuya is taken to a facility by Sugetsu, where he gets to see the most dangerous convict on the planet, which is none other than Kiseki. Sugetsu explains that Kiseki's power are so terrifying that they can destroy the entire planet. So they need to keep her a captive here so they can dose her anti-magic serums, so she can stay asleep and calm. However, usually Kiseki is very aggressive, and only after she gets to meet her brother that she becomes relatively stable. This is the best time for them to give her the injection of those drugs, so they can stay in control. However, they doesn't realize that this time Kiseki isn't normal, because she was agitated by her brother, and feared that he might leave her once he gets a girlfriend. This causes her to release intense amount of mana that their system fails. Sugetsu fears that she might escape, so he orders Hayato to suppress her, who heads inside her into her cell to fight her and kill all the demons created by her. Meanwhile, the small fry platoon takes on yet another mission, but this time it's pretty big as the target is a wizard whose threat level is B. After the wizard takes the bait placed by Ikaruga, she asks the girls to engage in a battle against him. But the man uses a magic to create a lot of plants from the bullets that he shot at the group, which entangles them. This only leaves Takeru, who chases after her, but is stopped when he notices that everything has gone silent, as Kiseki appears out from the shadows. She tells Takeru that he arrived here by listening to his heartbeat, and is so glad that she can hug him again. Just then, Uka and others arrive and asks Takeru who that girl is in his arms. But this only causes Takeru to become agitated as he stops her from getting close by using his sword as a threat. Uka, who has never seen Takeru in such a mood, becomes shocked and tries to tell her that no matter what happens, they will never be his enemies, which makes Takeru calm down as he tells them that the girl in his arms is his little sister, who is also a SS-level threat who broke out from the maximum security prison to see him. Meanwhile, Sugetsu is dealing with the aftermath of the accident as the whole facility is reduced to rubble. Hayato appears from under the rubble relatively unharmed, which shows why he is the strongest witch hunter in the world. While Sugetsu is questioning himself on how to explain this to the authorities, Kiseki is taken to Takeru's apartment so she can rest while he monitors her. There, Kiseki apologizes to Takeru because she killed again, but Takeru assures her that it wasn't her fault as she lost control of her powers. But Kiseki tells him that it only happens when her heart wants to do something, so her body acts in such unnatural way. Takeru places the blame on her body and tells her to keep her heart pure. Just then, Oka enters the room and greets Kiseki and starts treating her like her little sister. Kiseki is a bit shy, so she hides behind Takeru, as she realizes that it's the same girl that her brother was talking about. Uka tells Takeru that the girls wants to talk to him, so he leaves Kiseki in the room and heads to the other room to meet the girls. There they ask him about his sister, but he isn't able to explain it, so Ikaruga explains on his behalf as she tells them that her sister isn't able to control her power, which makes her a great threat to this world as her magical power is far too potent. The girls realizes that Takeru also feels extremely bad for his sister, so they decide to do something for him. They promise to avoid turning Kiseki back to the government, and in return he can take Kiseki on a nice little date for a half a day. Takeru thanks them as it would make both him and Kiseki very happy. In the meantime, the girls changes Kiseki into normal clothes so she can head outside without looking too weird. Later, Takeru and Kiseki are enjoying their date when she mentions how great the girls are and how they each treated him extremely good. So that's why she just realized that it would be better if she's dead, so she requests him to kill her. But Takeru tells her that the day he kills her would be the day that he dies as well. But till then, he wants her to continue on living, so he can cherish every last moment spent with her. Seeing the resolve in her brother's eyes make Kiseki agree with him, so she asks him to continue loving her till then. Meanwhile, somewhere far away, a man named Orochi enters the room and finds a half-elf standing in front of him. He informs her that the target they were supposed to capture has escaped and that it's time for them to capture it. But the half-elf asks him wouldn't it be best to attack the academy as they are at their weakest now. But Orochi tells her that they didn't join Haunted to fulfill his wishes and leaves. Back to Takeru, he is strolling through the town with Kiseki when she notices a Ferris wheel. So Takeru explains it to her and decides that it would be best if she experienced it herself, but before they can head there, they are stopped by Kyuka, who points a gun at him. He calls Takeru a traitor for harboring a heretic and tells him that he would kill each and last of them. But Takeru stops him only to find that Kyuya also owns a relic eater, which is somehow linked to Akira, who is supposed to be dead. Their fight causes a lot of destruction nearby, so Sugetsu puts a stop it and informs them of the consequences. He also recaptures Kiseki and is about to take her away, but Takeru wants to talk to her for the last time. Kiseki asks Takeru to fulfill his promise and falls unconscious as Sugetsu's team carries her away. Sugetsu orders Takeru to spend some time in solidarity confinement so he can regain his sanity. He also informs him that they will be taking his sister to another facility, where the alchemists might be able to treat her so she can gain better control of her powers. But that's also why the Valhalla is targeting her sister, so that's why they need everyone to be cautious. After leaving Takeru behind, Kiseki is taken into a secured vehicle, and under a lot of security they head off to the secret facility. However, they are attacked midway, which prompts Kyuya to ask Hayato if he's on the side of humans or the heretics. Hayato realizes that this Kyuya is a nutcase, and answers that he will do anything to protect humanity as they both head outside to fight the enemies. Meanwhile, Takeru, who is in the solitary confinement, is reminded of the first time that he met his little sister. She was locked in a shed and didn't even know that he was her brother. So he asked his father about it, who informs him that in each generation their clan gives birth to a demon that's always in a girl's body. So that's why they dispose of it as early on possible, but with Kiseki, the curse became so strong that Kiseki couldn't be killed even with her head severed. Later one day, Takeru returns home to find his father laying in his own pool of blood, who gives him his sword and asks him to either kill his sister or save her. Takeru immediately heads to the cliff where his sister is, but he isn't able to kill her because Kiseki is his sister. Kiseki, who finally learns the truth that Takeru is her brother, becomes happy, but the demonic powers doesn't allow her to get close to him as she falls down the cliff. Back to the present time, Uka, who is also suffering from solitary confinement, tells him that he was the one who saved her from the darkness, so now she wishes to share his burden too. Takeru, who is on the verge of breaking down, accepts her wish, and just then, Nagura is able to help them come out early using her connections. The other girls are also waiting for him outside as they take him to the place where the Inquisitors are fighting against Valhalla. Meanwhile, Orochi, who is one of the leaders of Valhalla, arrives at the scene too, and engages in battle with Hayato. In the meantime, Hayato orders Kyuya to go and do his mission, which is to protect Kiseki. However, Kyuya misunderstands and tries to kill Kiseki, but Takeru foils his plans once again by putting a stop to his foolish ambitions. After beating Kyuya into submission, Takeru takes out Kiseki, who apologizes to Takeru for being an inconvenience. But Takeru bumps her on the knees and tells her that he will definitely create a place for her in this world that she can call home. Just then, Haunted appears out of nowhere as usual, and ruins everything as one of his rose vines pierces Takeru's chest, which causes Kiseki to go in a berserk mode. Kiseki's demonic spawn spread all over the city, causing destruction and slaughter everywhere. But this only makes Haunted even more amazed as he wants to gain Kiseki's power for his own use even more. Meanwhile, Sugetsu is watching all of this happen from atop when Suzaku appears beside him and asks him if this is the sight that he wanted her to see. Sugetsu answers that he sacrificed an entire city to let her see the potential of Kiseki's power. Suzaku is amused and asks him if he wants her to stop Kiseki, but instead of that, Sugetsu makes a bet with her if Takeru will be able to kill his sister or not. On the other hand, Oka appears on the scene to rescue Takeru, but Haunted wouldn't let her, as Takeru is an important chess piece for him to control Kiseki. So Oka has no choice but to finally form a bond with her relic eater Vlad so she can gain her witch hunter form and defeat Haunted. However, despite her using that power, she still isn't able to defeat him as Kiseki's demon spawns keep on interfering. Mari and other girls are also trying to keep Kiseki's demon spawns in control as they continue to kill them, but they are also quickly losing their ammunition and mana supply. Meanwhile, Takeru appears in the Dreamland once again, where Lapis asks him if he wants the power to fulfill his wish. But for that, she comes back to her question that she asked him the last time, was if he would sacrifice his most precious thing to gain the power. Takeru's answer is to follow his own heart and desires, so Lapis fulfills his wish and forms a new contract with him, which is the God Hunter contract. With his newly acquired God Hunter form, Takeru is able to even dispel Uka's witch hunt armor. After putting her in care of the girls, he leaves to do what he couldn't do 5 years ago, which was to decide whether he wanted to protect her or kill her. But this time, he decides to follow his desires, but Haunted, as always, becomes a bone in his throat. So Takeru has no choice but to destroy him so he can get to his sister. He finally decides to save her as her demonic power disappears and she falls into his arms. He carries her to the girls, where he tells them that he doesn't want to abandon anyone, where it's her sister or his friends. Sugetsu also orders for the cleanup as he asks Orochi to leave. Orochi, who hasn't seen Sugetsu for 150 years, asks what he is cooking this time. Sugetsu answers that it's about time for him to come back to this world. The show ends in a rather dramatic way, leaving behind numerous questions. If you've gotten to this point of the video, let's confuse the fake fans by commenting Cyborg Bear. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you guys next time.